found your community bestie to share thoughts and opinions, recap the shows we love,
Having too much fun.
Bravo should be fun.
and have piping hot gossip sessions about the celebrities and Bravo lebs we love, hate, and love to hate.
He went on a podcast claiming he had a threesome with two women from the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills.
Immediately, I was like, I wonder if it's Brandy and Carlton.
I'm Caitlin Marshall, your pop culture and Bravo bestie.
Allegations, allegedly allegations.
And if you enjoy fun conversation between friends, listening to your bestie rant about shows we can't get enough of, plus enjoy a little bit of, well, ridiculousness.
Oh my God. I'm sorry. There's a spider that is coming down. Hold on.
It's like the Blair Witch Project.
Oh my God. Has anybody seen my ring?
Oh my God.
I don't want to ruin the party or anything.
Have you seen my ring? Oh my God. Can you look on the floor for my ring? God, someone's gonna kill me.
Don't mess with me because I will come.
What? Oh.
Feel free to leave that in for whatever entertainment purposes.
You're in the right place. So thanks for joining me on Besties by Bravo.
Hi, besties. Thank you for joining me today, Thursday, October 24th, for a little Bravo news and gossip session. Okay. Now, I am going to remind y'all that if you are watching on YouTube, I am going to no longer be doing lives every Tuesday and Thursday on YouTube just for the time being. I've got a little guy, you know, I have to work on both spending time with him, and I feel like I would be putting out more quality content if I'm not rushed to be on time, because I want to be on time for my besties here on YouTube. So next week will be the last time I do Tuesday and Thursday lives. What I am working out is either doing something where it's like once a month and we'll have like a real juicy gossip session about everything going on, or we'll figure it out. I would love to hear feedback from y'all, because part of why I started doing lives was sitting in a room by yourself recording. You can kind of feel like you're shouting into the void, and it's like, does anybody hear me? So I have really enjoyed having our community, and it's not going away forever. It's just right now, I'm literally like, hey, Nutrafol, hers, whatever, you can definitely hit me up for maybe host red ads or something, because I have even been losing my hair. I've been so stressed out of just trying to make everything work. And I don't feel like I give you the same type of content when I'm that stressed out. So that's just something I'm just going to be real with y'all. It's life as a working mother, that it's slightly unconventional work, I guess, So let's just kind of get started with some of this. The big thing right now has been Lala Kent going on Jeff Lewis. And y'all, I had to text my friends Jesse and Vicky this morning, because the way I was in tears laughing so hard at Jeff, he was so annoyed with Lala for kind of like, because he said he went to Nurse Jamie to get his injections. And he said that she pointed out something to do with like his neck, saying he had like crepey skin or something. I think Jeff looks fabulous. But it was freaking hilarious, because Lala's like, yes, I do see a little bit of that. That's some damage, my love. And he kind of it's like he got mad at her, but not mad at her. And so anytime someone was calling in, he was like, no, we're not having anyone who's on Lala's side. Give us someone who disagrees with her. Nope. Give me someone who disagrees with her. Y'all, I was in the gym listening, and I had to stop in the middle of a set because I was like, I'm gonna hurt myself. He is so deranged, and he's so out of his mind that it's just funny at this point. He's just such a special type of character. Oh, anywho. So a lot of people were in a tizzy about what Lala said in response to, because Ryan Bailey was there as well. And she was asked about her relationship with Ariana. Can the friendships be mended? All of that. And how do you think that went? I'm going to give you 3 guesses, and the first 2 don't count. Well, Lala stuck to the same script of it being, no, we have no relationship. We don't speak. And the fact that I couldn't say, no, I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to film with this person or that person after all these years. And yet suddenly she's able to do that. And she did say, look, it's understandable. But at the same time, she wasn't understanding with her on it. Now, don't come for me, but I can empathize with the idea like, well, wait a minute. I couldn't say no this whole time. You could. And that's part of being an adult, saying like growing is learning when to say no, or I don't want to do this. It's very difficult when it comes to work because that's your employer and they like to really be like, we're in charge. But at the same time, at the end of the day, her big thing was, yeah, but she was still living with Tom. Y'all, it is the most tired thing. It really is. It's like the first home they bought together. She thought she was going to be with him forever. Okay. Ben made clear. Okay. Been there, done that, made it clear. Who gives a shiz? I forgot because we're live, first 10 minutes. Okay. Anyway, who cares if she was still in the same house? She wasn't sleeping in the same bed as him. And regardless, Jeff kept making a point to her that, look, yes, you left the home with Rand when everything happened. But at the same time, Lala didn't own that home. She didn't have equity in that home. Ariana does. Like, my God, I still am shocked we're having to try and make this understandable. And on top of that, it was different for Lala. She had a very young infant with her. So if you don't feel safe in an environment, it doesn't matter. You will go to a motel, Motel 6, honey. It's different. Yes, she had her animals, but when you have that human child that can't even feed themselves like animals, you put the food out. It's like explaining stuff that we already know at the end of the day is where I'm going with that. But it was absolutely hysterical to me how Jeff was just like, oh, what? You think my neck is creepy? Fine. Sun damage. Okay. Who disagrees with Lala? Now, this I found interesting though. On Lala's podcast, she had Heather McDonald on, and they were talking about this man. Was it Julian Sensley? I believe is his last name. And Lala's connection to Julian and Brittany and Jax. Okay. Because remember, Julian is who Brittany had a little fling with, and girl, get it. Okay. Jax, rotten hell. I fully support Brittany going out and getting her groove on. Okay. But according to Lala, this little fling happened quite a while ago. And she's like, I don't know if some ex-girlfriend, the fiance now, was like pissed and said, you know what? I'm putting this out there. Screw you, Brittany. All of it. But she says this happened a while ago. I'm assuming way earlier this year, because remember, Julian is at this point engaged to the mother of his child. And so Lala's history with Julian, wow. She had been banging him many, many years ago. She said it was when she was living in this apartment off of Olympic, which that's pretty far out there. That's not quite Beverly Hills. It's been a while since I lived there, y'all. But that's a distance. Like if you live in the Valley and your friend lives on Olympic, they may as well live in Wyoming, honey. But digressing, she said this was quite a while ago. It was even before she met Rand. And so she's a baby. Okay. Little baby Lala. And she said, again, this is when she was living, her words were, Stassi's old apartment, must be old apartment building. And they kind of fizzled out. They're friends with benefits type of thing. And she gets together with Rand. And then after she leaves Rand, she says that they kind of started back up and that he came on really strong. Okay. Saying stuff like, oh, let's procreate. Our kids can be siblings and all play together. And her words were, basically, hey, slow your roll. I just got out of something pretty intense. this is a little too much. And she also said that at that point, they weren't sleeping together. It was just heavy petting, we'll say. And she decides at that point, Julian starts hanging out with Jax and Janet, you know, Janet, our most favorite person on the valley. Now, I cannot wait for that show to come out. It's going to be so freaking good this season. Y'all get into it, please. I say this every time. Anyway, so she says that Julian starts hanging out with Jax and Janet's husband, Jason, and they kind of are becoming besties because there'd be the double dates with her and all of it. And at this point, she's like, let me do her words were background check. I don't know if she paid for a background check. I don't know what that means for her, but she had him looked into in some capacity. And she says he didn't, quote unquote, pass this background check. In other words, from what I understand, he was still living with his ex, at that time ex, the mother of his child. And she was like, no, we are not on the same page. This is not working. Well, he, according to her, kept hanging out with the guys and they just became essentially best friends. Well, again, it turns out that earlier this year is when I'm imagining, because this date of separation, you know, it was in January, all of that. So maybe this started happening with Brittany, I don't know, around when Jax was saying, you might want to ask Britt who she's been sleeping with for the past 3 months. So I believe that was around March or April, but he tried to fool us by taking a picture of her laying next to Cruz, their 3-year-old, their little boy. Yeah, Jax, you're messy as hail and rotten hail. But that being said, that's when when Lala was going, well, okay, when maybe she shouldn't be doing that with this particular person, right? Well, it even got to a point where Katie had asked Lala, saying to her, thank God you're not with that Julian guy anymore. He lives with his ex. And that's when, from what I understand, the whole thing with Brittany had been kind of said and done. Okay. Well, it wasn't that terribly long ago because I guess it was during filming that it came up that Brittany had this fling with Julian. And of course, because Jax is the ultimate hypocrite, you want a hypocrite picture? There you go. He's that typical man that he will cheat and be a scoundrel all he wants. But the second the woman he has his idea of possession over does anything, but how could you? You know exactly what I'm talking about, besties. You know exactly what I'm talking about. Yes, you do. Okay. And that is Jax in a nutshell. But anywho, so he calls Lala and he's like, did you know that Julian and Brittany were sleeping together? Because remember, they had kind of just become besties. Which ultimate revenge. I'm sorry. And Lala basically said as much like, oh, he did kind of deserve it. But that she felt bad because she's like, I've brought these men into Jax's life that are screwing him over. First, it was Randall, where remember, Jax, quote unquote, invested $75,000 into a film Randall said he was doing, and Jax never saw any return on investment. Okay. So, yikes. And then now this other guy that Lala says she essentially brought into their circle starts banging his wife. Oops. Oopsie daisies. Now, okay. We're going to jump back over to all of that. I do want to touch on, y'all, the way your girl lost her mind when I saw on TMZ that Elizabeth Vargas, remember, she was a one-hit wonder on The Real Housewives of Orange County. It was the season before Tamara came back. Okay. Bronwyn was still there. I believe Noelle was there. And she was very, talked like this. And she was back on the season this season of Orange County. And Gina was selling a house that she had been working on as an investment property. Okay. Well, she has her own podcast. She does real estate investment. She had gone through a divorce. Remember the blonde. Okay. Well, Jean Bellino, Alexis Bellino's ex, there was a story on TMZ that for their part confirmed that the two of them were dating. And I was like, holy shit. Y'all, anything to get revenge on Alexis Jesus Jugs Bellino at this point. And I guess the real story was that they had gone on maybe a couple of dates and both liked to golf. I mean, there was a photo of them together, kind of cozy. I mean, it's kind of a random pairing. But on top of that, it's that Jim has now come out immediately saying, absolutely not. I am single. We are not dating. We went on a couple dates. And it's interesting because he went on Sarah Fraser's podcast and essentially, you know how he lives in Palm Springs and owns, I believe it's like a restaurant club type of thing. Apparently, he went through therapy after how he behaved, especially on camera, the controlling religious man over Alexis. And he, to his credit, says he, living in Palm Springs and all that, he's not super religious anymore. And there's nothing wrong with being super religious. It's just very interesting how both he and Alexis have taken a turn to their own interpretation of religion, considering Alexis, who is very big about, I'm a Christian girl, staunch Christian, I'm a good Christian girl, still talks about banging her boyfriend 10 times a day. Okay, cute. Which also, she's been trying to go on social media saying that she's not a liar and that, yes, she has the texts between her and Shannon and all of that. Listen, Alexis, we also hear that you are very much on the chopping block because you really came off you came in hard. Okay. What was it that Mary said to Brittany on Salt Lake City, which, by the way, that episode was fantastic last night. I will be recapping that episode in the previous this weekend. But Mary had said to Brittany that she came in hot and wild. Well, Alexis definitely came in. I mean, happy-go-lucky Lexi. Cute. Okay. But it's being tossed around that she's very much on that chopping block because we, the audience, are not loving it. It's just she's reaching too hard for iconic moments. She's reaching too hard for having little sound bites that just are not working. She can barely string her sentences together. It's bizarre. But I guess Jim and Elizabeth are not dating. I was like, damn, Elizabeth, that would have been one way to get back on the show and they would have been able to keep Alexis that way. But anyhow, okay. So I do have some sad news. Michael, Miss Patricia from Southern Charm, sweet Michael, her butler of many years, after he had a stroke, he did pass away. So I just want to say we are thinking of him, thinking of his family. And Michael, you had a fantastic run. You were amazingly humorous, and you would humor Patricia in ways that I'm not sure a lot of people could. And we're just thinking about them. We all are. Okay. Now, Tom Sandoval, y'all, I had to spend my morning listening to Tom Sandoval and his girlfriend, Victoria Lee Robinson, and her friend, who's also a model. Seemed nice enough though. So I, whatever. But the podcast, everybody loves Tom, dude. Well, they had a lot to say because it was the first episode they had done in a very long time. I think previously, the most recent episode before that must have been before he went to go film Traitors. And remember, while he was filming Traitors, everything was happening with Billy Lee and Victoria Lee and Kyle Chan, and how they went on the live with Adam Newell, I believe that's how you say it, on from Up and Adam. And it was kind of that disaster where both Victoria and Kyle looked like they were maybe in a hostage situation, but they went willingly. So it was a little confusing. It was just a really odd thing. And you could tell Adam was doing his best during this interview to kind of keep it moving. And he was like, you're giving me nothing, sweethearts. But on this episode, they rehash everything that went down with Billy Lee. and really claimed that Billy had been trying to isolate Tom and that Billy was trying to start fights between him and Victoria and between him and all of his friends because, according to Tom, Billy believed that he was going to help her have a baby. So, the thing is, interesting. Yeah. So the thing is that I just, from what they said was going on with Billy, was that she didn't even necessarily have a place to live at that moment, and that she was just kind of all over the place, mostly pet sitting animals for friends to have a place to stay. It doesn't sound like it would have been the best time in her life to be bringing a child into the world because, my God, if you're stressing about that, that's a whole other stress. Wonderful, beautiful bundle of stress, but it is, okay? And so he is still riding that train that it was all Billy. Victoria even recorded a conversation between herself and Billy, trying to prove, like, no, Billy's lying about the things I'm saying and the things that she's actually saying behind closed doors. And they also claim that Billy would be super sweet to Tom's face, acting all buddy buddy, and he would be doing things like paying for her nail appointments, Venmoing her for dinner, things like that. And he bought her a new laptop because her car was allegedly broken into. And he says he didn't see any broken glass in the car when she was staying at his house, and that he claimed that she wanted him to put it on his homeowner's insurance, but his deductible was like $100,000. So a MacBook does not cost that much. Sometimes it feels like it does, but it doesn't cost that much. So he buys her a new laptop. And when her car was broken into, Victoria's side of the story is that she felt so bad for her because Billy was crying. And I mean, listen, you take my laptop and I'm screwed. So don't do it. Okay. But she goes and buys Billy some flowers, trying to be nice. And that was part of where Billy had been making the claims that Victoria love bombs and all of that. Now, we get also to the portion where they talk about how Rachel Leviss has ended her podcast, where her publicist is now taking it over and turning it into basically a pop culture news podcast, which seems to have been the opposite of what it was from the beginning. And this is my thing. I very much wonder, because it sounded like Rachel wanted this to be about mental health, about growing as a person. And this is not me defending her, but it sounds like Rachel did not make the wisest decision going off of whatever her publicist was saying, because if her publicist now takes over her podcast to get the numbers that are already there, and then she's turning it into a pop culture podcast, I wonder if that was the point the entire time and that Rachel maybe didn't want it to be a Vanderpump Rules recap podcast, things like that, but that this is all maybe her publicist's game plan the whole time. Now, look, I'm not trying to piss this girl off because I hear she gets real nastiness in the DMs. And girl, I got enough DMs that people are trying to get mad at me. If y'all didn't know what all was going on TikTok for me, which some of that has been resolved today. Thank you, universe, Lord Jesus, baby God. But girl, you got bigger fish to fry than me. But I will say, I think you probably were intentionally steering her in the wrong direction, because Rachel, no matter what, is going to do what the person in front of her tells her is best for her. And it sounds like you were trying to be that person. I think it's unfortunate that everything has come for Rachel at the cost of her reputation, her career. At the end of the day, even when it seemed like she was trying to make moves to pivot in a better direction, I think the guidance she had around her was trying to keep steering her in an area that would keep her talked about and get those numbers and money in. And that's it. I don't think anyone, including this publicist, really cares about Rachel all that much. Again, I'm not saying I feel super sorry for her, because you are 30 years old, girl. You know, it's at some point you got to say, I'm an adult. And if something in my gut feels off, I'm not going to do it. Okay. It's part of being an adult, period. All right. But the biggest bombshell that Sandoval drops on the podcast with Victoria and her friend is that he claims Rachel's attorneys Mark. God, was it Mark Garagos? Mark Garagos. Yes, because there's the brother Matt and now it got me confused because Sandoval tried to pretend that he couldn't tell the difference between the two of them, yet he had hired essentially, it was Matt Garagos because he claims that his own attorney hired Matt Garagos, Mark Garagos' brother, onto the team, which remember, Mark and Matt do not work at the same firm anymore. Okay, got it. Interesting choice considering Matt is a personal injury lawyer, but okay, neither here nor there. And he still claims he didn't understand that the motion they filed was also a suit against Ariana. Here's something that happens to me, you guys. I can be in the moment very, very gullible if someone sounds sincere and kind. And it's something that also, speaking of like the TikTok stuff, I have to give a shout out to one of my besties, Jessie. You know her as the reality witch, Jessie Nails on TikTok, Instagram. She has literally been the rock sounding board of my spiral dealing with the malicious reporting I've had for outing someone as a racist. Okay, but everyone already knew. I just was reminding everyone. So we'll talk about that another day. But these people started attacking my account, trying to get me banned. And I've had to talk with her many times about when I'm having a moment, I make something for content, I do something and I'm like, oh my God, but I feel kind of bad. She's like, girl, would you stop it? I have an issue with that. So, but when it comes to this, I do not believe, unless it's one particular reason, but I don't fully believe, I should say, that Rachel's attorneys came to Sandoval's attorneys and said, look, because Sandoval's words were, we'll drop all the charges. You mean the suit, but charges are criminal. But okay. Against Sandoval, if he would, in his words, blame the affair and the way it was found out about on NBC Universal, okay, on the network, which is Bravo. And he's like, what? No, first of all, he wants to stay employed. So no. I don't think Sandoval understood completely maybe what the attorneys came to him with, unless they are aiming to go after Bravo because they want to ride the Bethany Frankel train. And again, it's Rachel at its core being influenced by someone, say, like Bethany Frankel, because the reality reckoning, where did it go? You know, Brandy Glanville got some new attorneys after, I believe it was Mark Garagos representing her, after they dropped her and all of that. God bless her. You know, I wish her well, but it just seems like a hot mess over there. I hope she gets more physically, emotionally, mentally well for herself and just in general. I don't wish ill on her. That being said, it's a hot mess. Now, again, unless this is all about going after Bravo, NBC Universal, which would be a larger payday if they won than if they went after Tom Sandoval, I'm like, I don't think Sandoval quite grasped the information that was given to him. But that first theory of mine seems a little bit more plausible. Don't you think? Yeah. I mean, Rachel's got her quote unquote rocket scientist boyfriend. Wow. I wonder what they talk about. I mean, look, I'm not just saying she's dumb. I wouldn't know what to talk to a rocket scientist about. In fact, I bought those. Anyone who has kids or is around them knows maybe what I'm talking about, those baby university books. And I bought a ton of them for my son. One of them is general relativity. Another one is quantum physics. Now listen, I still don't totally understand them, but you know, at the end of the book, it'll be like, you are a rocket scientist. You are a quantum physicist. You now know about general relativity. And I'll read the book to him, and they do things in very rudimentary, elementary styles of explaining things. And it starts out like, this is a ball. This ball has energy. This is a ball. This ball has no energy. And it explains the way atoms can leap. I mean, listen, I felt smarter than ever reading that. But I still wouldn't know what to say in a conversation with a rocket scientist. And I don't consider myself a complete and total idiot. I may be a little stupid sometimes, but I'm not dumb. You know what I mean? And I just really wonder what those conversations are like. But at the same time, I don't need to know. It's just my nosiness that's like, okay, I could handle about 3 minutes of curiosity and then I'd be like, "Okay, thanks. I'm good. We're done. Bye." Um, now speaking of Vanderpump Rules, here's the thing. A lot of people have been saying, "Okay, it's done. It's over with," because they are, and we know TMZ reported about a month ago that they have already begun filming a spinoff for it, which we already have a spinoff, The Valley, but thank you so much. Maybe for the younger kids, because we know so many 20-year-olds are watching Bravo. I don't know. I was 20 when I was watching Bravo. Different time, different place, though. Now, it's being reported that this is going to be season 12 is going to be the final season of Vanderpump Rules. And Lala's point on Jeff Lewis was there's no more story to tell. But if they were picking up cameras in 2 weeks, yes, absolutely. Okay. I'd go film. Not a problem. But at the same time, it sounds like what's been the stall, because remember, Vanderpump Rules always films during the summer. It sounds like there have been a lot of negotiations, and I heard that it was both Lala and Ariana wanting more money, which get your dime, girls. I'm get the bag, get the bread, get whatever the kids call it. I sound like a very old woman. But that being said, do what you got to do. You got to provide for yourself, family, what have you. Now, I find it interesting that Lala has such a vendetta against Ariana and how she handled last season, when it sounds like she's, again, one of the ones holding out this season. And I'm also hearing that Sheena's pretty upset with Lala about it, because Sheena is spiraling like, oh my God, what am I going to do about the money? I need the money. Oh my God. Brock. Now, I have a prediction for Sheena and Brock. Okay. I love doing predictions. All right. You know how Brock on his Instagram is constantly posting home improvement videos, like how he did their driveway, how he's made this whole little cute nook for Summer Moon, how he's redoing the backyard, doing all these things, showing things going wrong with the house, like water flooding in, and how he's like, oi, that's not supposed to be there. That was a bad accent. Okay, I'm not going to do that again. Excuse me. Goodbye. However, I have this strong feeling that they are going to attempt to have like an HGTV show, because honey, they have one of the teen moms doing it. Why couldn't they? What do you think? I think I could see it. I could absolutely see it. It would be interesting. I mean, I would watch at least one episode, obviously. But it does sound like fully this will be the final season of Vanderpump Rules. And I think that's the way to go. I don't, they couldn't end on season 10. We needed to see more of an aftermath with the fallout, but they needed to pick those cameras back up very soon after. We needed to see what happens in a group like this when a public scandal goes down, all of it. Okay. We needed that, but that's not what we got. So, anywho. I had a lot of gossip. I think I've just been talking fast. Okay. Let me tell you. Turns out, Real Housewives of Salt Lake City, the Alibaba Whitney Rose thing? You know how Up and Adam, his name's Adam. Everyone calls him Up and Adam, though. I mean, it's catchy. Anyway, how he was on the phone last episode before this one with Whitney, and the way he claims it was edited was to look one way when it was another. And from what I understand, he says that his husband had recorded the entire conversation between him and Whitney, but that it did not go down that way. And that's not even remotely what he said. But hey, babes, this is part of what we talk about. It's reality TV. It's going to be edited the way that benefits the story. And I've said this before. Look, you could be filming a scene with someone and you could be like, oh my God, the LA parking is such a bitch. And they can film the back of your head, baby doll, and have you nodding your head, and then face you and say such a bitch and make it look like you're calling so-and-so such a bitch. They can do so many things. And that's part of, you sign your life away, and you have to realize that. And that's unfortunate, because Adam knows all about the reality TV game. So even if it seemed like a straightforward conversation, it can turn on you on a dime. But it's kind of, you want to talk about one of the I mean, no offense. Thirstiest commentators on all of this, truly. Dana Wilkie, 25,000. Did you know sunglasses are 25,000? That Dana Wilkie. Okay. So she claims that she's the one who outed the Alibaba thing on Whitney. Now, my understanding, and I could be wrong, but I was even messaging Giorgio about this. I was like, wait, was it Bravo Snark side on Instagram? Because they had posted something and I was like, oh, it must have been them then. And they have a great account, by the way. But it's now Dana trying to take credit for it. Her words were that it's someone on the cast that came to her and they came to her on a Finsta, a fake Instagram account. So she can't actually say with full certainty who it was, but she said it was someone who is an expert at gathering research on cast members and that they always bring out the information at the perfect time. And then she says, and it's the last person you would expect. Well, first I'm like, then Meredith, what? Alibaba. I mean, it would make the most sense for it to have been Meredith because of how pissed she was about the bath bombs and the jewelry and all of that. But then I'm like, okay, well, if it weren't her, is that Heather? Because Heather did a lot of research on Monica last year. Just a thought. Yeah. Anywho, that's the majority, unless something, let me just, y'all, because every time I start ending one of these episodes where I feel like, okay, I've covered everything, and mostly because I've just talked so fast. And Phaedra Parks, it looks like she was cut from Dancing with the Stars, but I think I've pretty much covered everything, which feels like I went pretty fast. Maybe it's because I was talking 90 miles an hour. It's kind of the way I'm feeling today. Now, besties, before I go, I see two of you here in the chat. Hi, Miriam. Hi, Adam. Thank you so much for joining. I am going to tell all of you, please, besties, leave a 5-star review wherever it is you listen. Follow Besties by Caitlin, Caitlin, on Instagram and TikTok. Also, follow the backup account, Besties with Caitlin, on TikTok. Thank you so much. If you're watching here on YouTube, please hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, and be sure and check out my collab with TeePublic. The merch, I designed it all. It will be here in the show notes. And again, besties, I hope you have a wonderful weekend. And I will see you on Tuesday for the final Tuesday live for the time being with Giorgio. And we will go ahead and cover Orange County. I know it's been a bit intense because he has different opinions and views than some people. And I want to say how, Miriam, you and Giorgio had a really respectful discourse between the comments and each other. And that's what I love about this community. That's what I want. It is so perfectly amazing to disagree. And that's part of why it's fun for Giorgio and I to talk about it, because we don't get mad at each other. We get it. We're talking about something and we just are looking at this from two different points of view. We're looking through two different lenses. And I want to shout out Miriam on this. I love how you were so sweet and respectful, and also like, nah, I cannot stand Tamara, while Giorgio was defending his point and he was sweet and respectful with you. That is the type of stuff I love. We can be kind and disagree, and it just makes things more interesting. So I just want to see more of that. I loved it. Okay. And I don't think he minded. I think for him, it just is hard when it's on social media. It gets a little intense. Trust me, friends. Because I decided on TikTok, gosh, there's this woman who's starting her own Texas Mom Talk group. And I'm just kind of fascinated by all the mom talks and stuff. Right. And so I had seen that there was all this drama with this one particular woman named Erin. I'm going to call her Karen from now on, because she had all of her cronies report my videos for completely false, asinine reasons, like trying to say, oh, people are doing drugs in your video, when they weren't. Okay, I've never posted anything like that. Like, give me a break. But I reminded everyone of who she was from season 15 of Big Brother. and she's continuing bullying behavior. Okay. And so I thought, well, aside from being incredibly racist, that to the point where it was nauseating, she's now kind of bullying some women that tried to apply to be in her Mom Talk group. Yes, you heard me, apply. She asked for applications. Okay. So it doesn't seem like a lot of learning and growing has happened, nor has there been like a genuine apology up until recently, up until I posted this video, that it was like, okay, yes, what I did was racist. It was homophobic. It was deplorable. She hadn't said any of those things before, and she hadn't actually apologized. Well, I had people going ham trying to get my account banned. So it was a little stressful because I'll be completely real with y'all, besties. TikTok is also a source of income for me and my family, for me to be able to continue doing things like this podcast, live in this economy, pay for my son's school type of thing. And it was a little stressful, and I've worked very hard on that. But I didn't post this for any type of clout, for any type of income, because you can't rely on one video. It just doesn't work that way. Okay. You never know. But my point was, I just felt like the people who were of a different ethnic group from this woman watching in their living rooms had to have felt absolutely disgusted by it. And then I thought of how they would feel remembering sitting there with their families, with their friends, what have you, and then seeing this woman getting deals and getting campaigns, and possibly, because it seems like they're hoping to eventually get their own reality show, as if Secret Lives of Mormon Wives could somehow have franchises of Mom Talk, kind of like Housewives. But I thought, nah, girl, you haven't done better. Let's just say something. And so that has been a bit of a stressful thing dealing with this last week, because I was like, God damn, I did not try to bring in any drama into my life. But also, it's one of those things when you're like, oh my God, you got to do the right thing. If you see something, say something, right? Didn't have to dig through social media. These clips were already out there. It's just a fact. And I have a problem with keeping my mouth shut when I see something that is wrong. It has gotten me into trouble more times than I would like to count, but it's always for the right reasons. So anywho, that's what's been going on over there. So that's why I have the backup account in case they try and start doing all of that craziness again. But follow both of them. That was such a long explanation. This was supposed to be a 30-minute episode, essentially. Besties, yes, Kelly, we can do hard things. That's exactly what I tell my son. Like, you can do hard things, when I'm trying to teach him to button his pants, because that's an issue right now. It's just always different. It's a different thing, different day, new thing every day. What am I trying to say? I don't know. But besties, have a wonderful weekend. Thank you again for joining, and I will see you on Tuesday. Okay.